Hello and welcome to Deep Dive Film School. I'm Adam Sherlock.
And I'm Adam Poulter.
And if you like what you see/hear, please like and subscribe. You can find us on all the spaces and places that people what?
Find good media. That's right. Our most popular platforms are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. So please join us there if you like what you see. All right, let's get into, what is this, our third installment?
I think so, yeah.
Of our Chamber Piece Festival. We're going to do a Hitchcock movie from 1948 called Rope. I think a criminally under-talked about Hitchcock movie.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember them showing us this in film school.
Yeah.
Not only because it's trying to be a oneer for most of it, and really film reels back then could really only last about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, but it was also that constant, right? You want that constant. And a lot of times they're going to the back of jackets to
hide the cuts.
To cut away and stuff like that. And for that time, it completely works, and it still works today. And it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. So, but it kind of fun experience for him. His first movie in color, too, by the way.
It also is such a perfect example of what really became a Hitchcock trope.
It's true. This is before Rear Window and all this stuff, because that's kind of the same thing.
This idea of the bomb under the chair.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
this idea of like like the idea that the audience knows a thing that characters don't.
Yes.
Was a super revolutionary concept at the time, where it was like that created the suspense more so than there's a mystery and you also as the audience are finding out about it at the same time that people are. You know more. Right.
Yes.
And so you're going, don't open the right.
Well, we open with a murder.
Yep.
And we see the murder. So there's no question what actually is happening. And that's half the fun of what this movie is. Right?
Exactly.
Is seeing how the characters figure it out. Because we already know what happens. We know what they're hiding. We get this first 10 minutes or so with them, like one-on-one. After they've done it, the first couple minutes are actually really silent and sad and dark. And, you know, we have two sides of the coin here with Philip and Brandon.
Yep.
I don't know why I don't think the name Brandon should be in the 40s. That just doesn't seem like a 40s name to me.
It's like finding out the name Paul is in the Bible. You're like, really? There's just a Paul? Like Paul was just hanging out?
Yeah. But John Dahl and Farley Granger here play Philip and Brandon. And Philip is right after, like almost immediately regretful of what's going on, or how were they going to hide us? How are they going to get away with this?
And Brandon has just gotten a taste of the good stuff.
Boy,
man.
I love him as a character.
He's an incredible character.
He's a great character. John Dahl and Farley Granger, I think I mentioned that, but the man, Brandon's so fun to watch. Like it's a game to him. He's having fun here, and like he keeps talking about the perfect murder. We just pulled off the perfect murder, and now we're gonna the cherry on top. Let's dangle it in front of his family.
Yeah, the party is the key. The party is how we know that we're superior to these other people.
Yes.
Now, if I may take us on a slight tangent for a minute,
please. It's
worth noting that the script of the movie was based on a play. Anthony Walter Hamilton, who in 1929 wrote Rope. Interestingly, also the guy who wrote the play Gaslight, which is where the term gaslighting comes from, where basically there is a guy who's treating his wife as if she's nuts when really she's on to him about his crimes. Yeah. So it's just interesting that way. Now, Rope is based upon the crimes of Leopold and Loeb. This was in 1924 that these two guys really being inspired by the Friedrich Nietzsche idea of the Übermensch, or the Superman, as this like elitist human that's better and smarter and more deserving of life than other humans.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a big part of what, his motivation. Yep. And it's really interesting to see how passionate he is about not necessarily even murder, but like this almost, it's like class warfare to some degree.
That he has the right to do this.
He's better than you.
He's better.
You're inferior because I have the higher moral ground, so I don't actually need any moral ground.
Yep.
I should be allowed to morally and legally do this.
Right. Couple of interesting side notes here. One, in real life, in 1924, Leopold and Loeb, in addition to both being obsessed with this idea of the Superman as a person, and that they were these supermen who could commit this perfect crime because they deserved it. They were also lovers, and that was written in not the play, but by the screenwriter who wrote Rope. And the subtext is here. This is during the Hayes law era. You can't show anything like this in movies, right? They have people like watching to make sure there's no homosexuality in films. But the subtext is here, right? We see the way these two guys are with each other. That one's the alpha and one's like, definitely the more subservient. And he's like, well, I'm sorry I snapped at you. Like, it's all there, and it was there purposely. Both of these actors, one was gay, the other was bisexual. The screenwriter was gay, and Hitchcock was a very outspoken. He was very against the blacklisting of homosexuals during this period of time in Hollywood. Yeah. So all the subtext was there. Apparently, the only person who didn't know about it was Jimmy Stewart. Who found out years later, like, well, I didn't hip to that at all, so he was unaware.
That's pretty good.
Hey, thanks. But it's interesting as a subtext here where you can see that they have this weird relationship with one another.
I've seen this movie probably half a dozen times. I love this movie. I think it's one of his better movies.
100%.
Like I said, I don't think it gets talked about enough. And I remember that being a thing, but I forgot about it and read about it afterwards, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess so. But it's not in your face, I don't think.
It's not in your face, but I think it's an interesting layer. In particular,
it is an interesting layer.
And now I'm getting to the second, and now you can get out of my tangent.
Yeah, the movie was banned in several American cities because of the implied homosexuality of Philip and Brandon. So the implied. But like, who's the fucking judge of that? That's so dumb.
I mean, exactly, but that's the way the Hayes Act at the time totally was, right? So they were like, well, I got turned on, so it must be perverted, right? Who knows? But I think this is why this is so important that I mention this, is because, obviously Leopold and Loeb, the actual men who committed this murder, also the person that they murdered was a 14-year-old boy at the time. So that, there are big differences of it being a school-age guy, and like there being like some weird jealousy,
school colleague.
Yeah, there's definitely more elements there and layers. But I think the thing worth mentioning is that to show how hypocritical and useless this Nietzschean idea of the Superman is, and why it's so important in this movie, is that there's a homosexual undertone of these two characters. This movie came out 3 years after the end of World War II.
Yeah.
The other person that was super influenced by the idea of Nietzschean Superman was Hitler.
Yeah.
This is a huge part of the Third Reich, right? So what a wonderful way of Hitchcock putting the lens of this crime and then politically talking about how stupid this idea that someone could be a complete elitist. Then our two coded homosexual guys believing that they're the Supermen, when you're like, literally the people who would be the biggest fans of this ideology would have put you in the camps first because you're gay. So there's like a really interesting political thing that's happening,
no doubt,
rumbling under the current here. And that
I did
all
think about World War II though.
Yeah.
Because this is definitely right after. Yeah.
And that comes crashing down on whether you see Jimmy Stewart's character as potentially also being coded as queer, or just as their teacher who used to bandy about these ideas about Nietzsche and Superman like it was a fun cocktail party chatter, which happens in this movie.
I was going to say that.
Right? We get this happening
murder
in this
could
movie.
solve a lot of problems.
Right.
Unemployment, standing in line.
Yeah. And he's just flippantly saying this shit. Unknowingly, he has a couple, well, at least one deeply sociopathic.
How unknowingly, though? I wonder, how long is he actually playing stupid here? That's kind of the fun thing to figure out, right?
Well, obviously, he's the one who introduced, and he didn't mean to, and that should be, that's very apparent here. But he is the one who introduced this concept, although he was being silly, to these school-age guys who decided to take it seriously. Now, I think it's really interesting to be like, okay, well, Brandon fully bought in, but, sorry, now I forgot his name. What's that? Philip just wants to do whatever Brandon wants him to do, right? Like there's these layers here. Like he is not bought into this elitist idea the way that Brandon
you never
has.
see Philip saying anything like that. Even when
he's guilty from the jump.
Well, it's on his face, right?
Yeah.
Where Brandon's reveling in it, having a cigarette, and just having fun with the game and
Like
timing
they just had
things
sex.
out. It's true. But he changes the table to come to be actually on the coffin that he's in this big chest that they put him in.
He's immediately into this in a way that you're like, had he not been caught at the end of this story, that dude's a serial killer.
No doubt. He's so fun to watch, though, and he's so good here.
Yeah.
And even Janet at some point calls him out when that Ken guy arrives, her ex-boyfriend, and David's her current boyfriend who just got murdered, but no one knows it yet.
Yep.
And she's like, your sense of humor is malicious.
It's interesting too. Like what a fascinating, for that time period. What a fascinating, there's almost like, and I didn't even think about this when watching it, but now that we're talking about it, there's this fascinating character study of Brandon where it's like, to Janet, as somebody who dated him before and still considers him a friend, like, A, obviously she's unaware that he's just killed her boyfriend.
Yes.
But B, she also sees him, and, she calls everybody old chum, which is like a cute little affectation, but it's like, she's school friends with these guys, and she's dated a couple of them, but remained friends with them.
3 of them, I guess. 3 out of the 4.
Yeah, 3 out of the 4. And has remained friends with them, but sees the maliciousness of Brandon as just like what Ivy League guys are probably like. So there's almost this like American Psycho kind of undercurrent here of good. Brandon, where you're like, oh, this thing that just looks like Ivy League sort of just giving you a hard time, old chum, is actually him like, no, he's a fucking sadist, right?
Well, it's also, shit like Knives Out wouldn't be made without a movie like this.
100%.
Like Jimmy Stewart is Benoit Blanc to some degree, right?
Yeah.
He's in there trying to figure out what's happening. That's why I'm saying, he doesn't necessarily have the same motive to as a officer of the law to go in there questioning everything, but at some point, he's a curious person.
Yeah.
They talk about him before he doesn't show up until about half an hour into the movie.
Yeah, and Philip is really worried that he got invited. He's the only person he's worried about.
That's going to figure it
out.
That's going to figure it out. Because he's smart enough. He picks up on little things. He has a history of all this stuff like you were talking about. And so it's very interesting that that was the death nail. I'm like, Brandon,
it really was.
Brandon, you're charming, but not that charming.
You weren't able to pull this off. Well, the other thing that's interesting too is that it's almost like, you could go with Blanc, Knives Out, which I think is fun, or another way to look at it is if, rather than it being an inspiring relationship with a group of students, this is almost like if it had been a combative relationship with the students, a la Dead Poets Society, right? Where you have Robin Williams' character who like brought all these young men into this amazing literature, and
sure.
instead of being inspired, they took the wrong message from it. Because the other thing that's really interesting here
That's an interesting comp. I haven't heard that.
The other thing that's really interesting here is that both Philip and Brandon are I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, so I apologize if I'm doing it wrong, but esthetists. So basically the idea that they're lovers of the arts purely for the aesthetics, right? So and this was like in the 1930s and 40s was like a movement where it was like art for art's sake. You read the books, so you said that you read them, not because you got the message behind them. And that perfectly is who these guys are, right?
Interesting.
He's an amazing piano player, but it's like, it's not about him being an artist. It's like, this is going to get him into a good school, right? And so this idea somehow...
These hands are going to make you famous.
Right, these hands are going to make you famous right after he cut one of them too, right?
Yeah.
I love, what a fascinating... God, if we could do top 10 palm reading scenes, this one would be right up there with Jacob's Ladder. But,
Wow.
you're already dead.
But is that piano or is that from choking a guy
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And so, you'll be famous either way. I think it's just interesting to think about the idea that these guys have no substance within them, right? That they have
Philip
a love.
does.
He does, but I think that what they envy or enjoy or get excited about has a surface level to it. There's not a whole lot happening underneath it. Because even with Philip, he was willing to be manipulated into doing this.
Yes, of course, but we see him immediately after, and he through the whole movie. He's getting saucy. You know, he's
that's true. He
starts
does.
drinking,
He does start drinking,
and you know, by the end of the movie, yeah, you know, I mean, he spills the beans, but the you know, I think he does have a little more depth. Brandon's more interesting because you're like, what the fuck is this guy up to? And we're like,
when he comes out with
the rope, holding it, and then of course the tied on the books, another great thing.
It's just so like, you know,
like the murder weapon. You give it to his father.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And you're like, so, and there is a part of you that wonders. Like, it's funny because he keeps getting mad at Philip because Philip's like getting more and more upset, but I'm like,
he's gonna give him up. Yeah,
but I'm also like, yeah, okay, the recklessness of Brandon to do that at all, to have the party
a common
at all,
household item, Adam.
right? Yeah, it should just be in a kitchen drawer.
There is a great shot where the door swings open and he's dropping it in. It's just like,
we'll talk about the timing.
Yeah,
in
let's
just
talk about the camera work next. Because,
but just to finish out this thought, like he keeps getting mad at Philip, but I'm like, but I think he's getting off not just on having the party, not just on flaunting the murder weapon and continuing to ask the fucking parents, where's your son?
Mm-hmm.
Like, could you twist the knife anymore?
And Janet and Ken, trying to set them up, leave them alone, turning on the music. Here's another drink.
Oh, you know, he's on the phone in the bedroom.
Like, what is your
so
motive
you know.
here?
But take him a drink, would you?
People.
So there's already that's turning him on.
Mm-hmm.
I think freaking Philip out is turning him on too. I bet just as much as the murder turned him on, the fact that he was able to manipulate the weaker of the two of them into doing this is probably just as big of a win for him as the murder itself.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, he's sadistic.
Yeah,
like he's just one of those fun, like, I don't know, just this whole movie, the setup, like the first 10 minutes, like, just seriously, what a setup.
Yep.
Like, that's all you need. It's so simple, right?
Yep.
And the whole movie, you're on the edge of your seat from the first scene, because it starts with a scream. You see this guy get killed and stuff doing the thing. It's quiet for a few minutes. They open this gorgeous window and this skyline and this top of the building.
Oh
penthouse.
Yeah. Well, definitely there's that. I mean, again, to go to the subtext. I mean, there's been dissertations written about that this movie basically opens with a sex scene. That it basically opens with not just a sex scene, but a gay sex scene in the sense of it being
they are going off to the country together.
Well, but here's the thing: a taboo moment. I wish we would have done it in the light, but I guess this kind of thing is done better in the dark.
Interesting. Yeah.
When did you feel it the most? Well, when I felt him go limp. When I felt him go, I mean, literally beat by beat, this thing has been dissected, and this is part of the reason why it got banned, is because I think that it was done
the
so
innuendo
heavily.
Is a little
the
too
innuendo,
much. Yeah.
Even the scream itself that opens our movie doesn't necessarily sound like a scream of death
or of a man. Even.
It could potentially be construed as being something exalted, right? Like there's and a rope, like it's not a gun, it's a rope. Like what more intimate way? Right, there's a lot of like kinkiness. And
he has a gun. We know he has a gun.
Yeah,
he chose to kill him with a rope.
There's a lot going on here. Anyway, let's talk about camera movements.
No, it's a complicated, fun story.
But it really is.
The camera is a character here, no doubt.
Oh my God.
And same with The Apartment. You know, part of these chamber piece movies is it's fun being in one place for the whole movie. That's kind of the point of this festival is talking about those movies and the similarities we're kind of seeing. We've done Misery so far,
Lighthouse,
and now this one. But yeah, just a fun concept by itself. The fact that it's supposed to be a oneer is really interesting.
Never even thought. I mean, it makes sense that this was a play, right? So it makes sense why he was running out those reels, getting to those final ending of the 10 minutes. Apparently, there was almost no edits at all.
Yeah.
When they put the movie together, it was basically just splicing together those breaks.
I mean, if you want to make a movie on the cheap and have enough time to rehearse, you can do this.
Yep.
And these days you can do it all in one shot, actually one shot.
Right.
And so pretty funny. So there's an obvious cut, like they kind of hide the cuts throughout, but the first obvious cut is when they're telling the story of Philip and the chicken and strangling the chicken and
choking the chicken, as it were. Again, the innuendo is deep.
You're not wrong. All right.
And literally Jimmy Stewart is arguing with him like, but you told me you choked the chicken. You told me when we were in school that you choked the chicken, Philip.
Getting gayer by the minute for sure. But that's kind of fascinating subtext. But the first obvious cut but it's right on James Stewart, and we sit on him for a minute, and they do this a lot in the scene where a conversation is over here that you're hearing, but you're supposed to be looking at this thing.
Yep.
They do it when she's clearing the table and wanting to put the books back where the body is, and obviously, and like the whole time you just see like the back of Jimmy Stewart, or like even half of him. It's not even a full shot.
Or
of
the
him,
times there's a couple of times where you're hearing them talking about David, and the camera is sitting and lingering on that chest.
It floats. It floats through. It floats through the whole movie.
Yep.
And you go. It's very specific on what it's showing you. Obviously, with the fourth wall, you can't turn around 360 and do stuff like that.
And it never really goes down that hallway towards the bedroom.
Yeah,
it doesn't go down to where the phone
You have to
is.
stay on the right side of the camera and everything. But since the filming times were so long. So this movie was taken in 10 shots, ranging from 4.5 minutes to just over 10 minutes, which was the maximum amount that you could put in a camera magazine or projector reel that would hold.
Yep.
Most of the props and even some of the apartment set walls were on casters, and the crew had to wheel them out in ways in the back position as the camera moved around the set. Also, since filming was so long, everyone on the set was tired and tried the best to avoid mistakes. At one point during the first take of the scene, the camera dolly accidentally ran over and broke a cameraman's foot, but to keep filming, he was gagged and dragged off the soundstage. And they used that in the scene.
In my head, it was Hitchcock that dragged him off.
Yeah, I hope it was.
Right? And you're like, I could do this.
Another time, a woman had pushed a glass down but misses the table, and a stagehand had to rush up and catch the glass before it hit the ground.
Come on, man, that's movie making.
Both parts were used in the final cut. Isn't that wild?
And there's only and then I also saw there's only 4 visible cuts. There's only 4 times that it's a literal
3 of them are kind of in the back, and one is the obvious one on James Stewart. When I think it's really that cut to me is defining. Okay, that's when he knows something's up.
The thing that's funny too is that it afterwards. Well, 2 things. One, nobody appreciated that.
No.
Like, it was not considered to be like Probably a cool thing. Like, this movie didn't do very well, and one of the reasons why is because people were like, it just wasn't, it was kind of slow paced.
It's not slow paced at all.
Not at all. But I think it's because we're used to these fast edits. The idea that a camera would run consecutively for 10 minutes is like Yawn City. And now it's looked at as like, what a revolutionary that he did this. Well, like, how ahead of its time was he thinking? And also, Jimmy Stewart was like, I guess it was an interesting experiment, and if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be Hitch, but I didn't get it. Like, that's what, and you're like,
I don't.
That's how far ahead of its time it was.
I don't think he ever totally got this movie. I don't know if he has a glowing review of this movie, but he's great in it. I mean,
he's amazing.
Jimmy Stewart is one of the greatest American actors of all time.
100%. I think it's so interesting the way in which the camera does linger against things and leaves us to do a lot of a sort of mind's eye thing that you don't usually do in movies. You do it when you're reading, right? You do it when you're listening to music, but where we have whole conversations happening off screen about, well, I tried to call him and I couldn't get through, and he's never like this, and da 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 da, and our camera is just looking at potentially Jimmy Stewart, like looking out the window, lighting a cigarette. And yeah, it's done in part out of means, just because of the staging and everything. But there's this other part that gave me the feeling of watching something like Yoshishiro Ozu's films, where I'm like, sometimes he makes the camera sit in a room and not follow the drama, right? And you're like, the drama's happening, but you're like, why aren't we over there?
Yeah, we never go into the kitchen where they're doing the books. They keep it in the same room,
and it's fascinating. It gives you even more a sense of like claustrophobia, kind of.
Yeah, what's happening off camera. And I gotta say, like, the performances here are all just astounding.
Yes.
And if you really pay attention, look at everyone's faces.
Yep.
Because some of them tell you a lot of what's going on. You could see, Jimmy Stewart or Rupert. Staring at the table. He's like, "This is what's going on here."
Yeah.
It's so funny. Some of the things back in the 40s that were like, "This
why would you ever do
Why
that?
would you do that?
Yeah.
That's so weird."
Well,
and
and
then
also,
champagne is apparently just like this.
Why would you ever? Yeah,
What are we celebrating?
One bottle every 5 years.
Yeah.
Well, and I love Rupert's, like, he's also, you get enough before he starts to actually become suspicious. You get enough of what his personality is probably like with his friends in the classroom, things like that, because we have
Miss Atwater. He kind of does this, like, bends his neck and is like right in her face.
Yeah, and the whole, like, oh, it was the What's and What starring so and so, and he's like, wow, it's the What's and What starring old so and so, and you're like, oh, he's a wit, right? He's very charming, he's very flirty. And so then when we get to these conversations around the Übermensch, around the idea of, well, murder would solve so many problems, and some people deserve to die, right? Mm-hmm. And that those people who deserve to die are the ones who take too long in lines for movies, and the ones who aren't great drivers, and it's all these, like, petty inconveniences.
Yeah.
And you get the impression with David's father, who becomes really incensed at this conversation. You're like, potentially this is a dude who maybe went to war, right? This is potentially a dude who, like, he has a different idea about the sanctity of life. Mm-hmm. And even though technically Rupert's joking, Brandon isn't. Brandon's so excited. He is singing his tune,
and
right?
he the Mr. Kelty, he's the one. He's like, I can't tell if you guys are joking or not.
Right. And they're still, or Rupert's still playing up the joke, and Brandon is in no way joking. And the fact that he even, it lets you into a little bit of Brandon's psyche, that before everybody shows up for the party, he says of Rupert, oh, well, I almost had him join us. I almost let him in on our secret.
Interesting, yeah.
And you're like, that's how much he doesn't understand that he's alone. In how much he loves this idea. That, like,
Philip doesn't love it.
Yeah.
He may have gotten manipulated to it, but he
doesn't love it.
Yeah.
But Rupert was joking. He was being a snarky intellect, right? And he just
we're gonna choke each other out,
right? And it just so happened. Now you're seeing the whole movie in a new light, aren't you?
I guess so. Cut a throat week is strangulation day.
There's a lot going on. Yeah. Yeah, I think that all of these pieces make for something so interesting when we do get our reveal, and there's so many close calls along the way.
Yeah, where they're literally lifting up the top of it.
And at some point...
And you're like, are they going to stop him?
Yeah, and at some point there, you don't exactly know when. I mean, when the deal is sealed is when he accidentally when Rupert's accidentally given David's hat.
The wrong hat.
That's the moment, right? Yeah. Everything before that was just speculation.
What a great reveal.
Yeah. Just those monogrammed initials on the inside of the hat.
Because, we've had these, Rupert's been watching. He could tell something's going on with Ken and Brandon and Janet. And Janet and Ken figure out that they knew that they weren't together and that he's playing them up and something's going on. Whereas David, you tricked him on not coming here and all this stuff. And they're having these arguments and he's watching them, but he can't quite put everything together.
And then he's just, like, listening to the parents as they're going, that he would never do this. He would never do this. Like, something's wrong, because he would never do this to us. And so he's going, well, where is he?
We have no idea, because all we've seen him is dead.
Yep.
Which is what we don't know that the characters do know.
Yep,
right?
exactly.
Which is like, kind of a flip-flop.
Yeah, that he's a reliable guy and that there's no good reason why he wouldn't be here. And so watching Rupert kind of, like, suss all those things out, then he leaves his cigarette case.
And that's, leaves in quotes.
Yeah.
But they do tease you and think, oh, they got away with it, right?
Yep.
Everyone left.
Yep. And now they're here. It's still. And the thing is that, like, and I've seen some.
You knew Jimmy Stewart was coming back.
Oh yeah. Well, and I've seen some wonderings online where people are like, why didn't Brandon send Philip out to get cigarettes or something? He could have had him leave. Like, there's, he could have had him leave through the back when he found out Rupert was coming back. And all these things, and I'm like, well, there's a couple important things here. One, Brand is not as smart as he thinks he is. And two, the thrill has blinded him from anything else because he still believes he's not going to get caught. And part of that thrill has to do with the belief that he's better than everybody.
Yeah.
Including
Cultural superiority.
Yes. Including at this point, Rupert, because Rupert didn't find out. So even though Rupert needs to come back, he's like, I don't care.
Bring him on.
Yeah, bring him. I'm still smarter than him.
Yeah.
And that's when the gun is revealed.
Yes.
And it's really interesting because everything suddenly goes from being about here to about here in terms of the tenseness. And it's such a... You would think that it couldn't ratchet up any more than when the party was there and all those people were there. And yet it is. It's more tense now that there's only 3 of them.
The magic of Hitchcock, man.
And he's now, Jimmy Stewart is like not being funny or silly. He's being very serious. Of
He
like,
wants a tall pour. He wants to stay a while and have a drink.
Yep, but just
over.
and they're fucking standing over him, and he's like, "What's the problem, guys?" And they're like, "Nothing. We're just
Phillips,
we're getting ready to."
He's shit faced at this point.
Yeah,
too.
we're getting ready to leave. But they're literally like standing.
No,
over
we're all
him.
packed.
Yeah,
What do you need?
yeah. It's an incredibly tense moment.
I love this movie. It's perfect almost. Like there's no complaints. Philip gives it up, grabs the gun, they fight over it.
Yep.
He shoots 3 bullets out the window.
Love it.
And bookends the silence that we had at the beginning, and all you hear is the city noise, and eventually you hear sirens, and they're getting closer and closer.
And there's 2 reasons why I love the shooting out the window. The first is that it's so much more effective and so much more cinematic to do that rather than to just call the cops, right?
Sure.
The second is that the fact that someone else out there in that cityscape heard the gunshots and recognized where it was coming from and called the cops. And that's why we hear the sirens, which means that, like every other asshole in that city, those guys are just ordinary jerks. There's nothing super about them. They're not above any of this, right? It's they're not better than any of the rest of the people out there who are committing murders or crimes or whatever.
Yeah.
And that to me is like even symbolic as like a bow at the end of this. I also just love, because we kind of jumped over it, but I love Jimmy Stewart's revelation that his flippant comments about the Superman theory and the eliteness and all this inspired this in somebody else. It disgusts him. And seeing him go through that in real time.
He's like, I'm scared of you.
It's so fascinating and powerful to see that of a character who's inadvertently inspired someone to do this horrible thing. It's
Created
like it's
a monster.
Yeah, it's just a beautiful character arc for his character.
God, what a good movie.
Last thing I'll say, I wrote, in a previous life, I would have worked on the cycloramas for Hitchcock's films like Rope and Rear Window. I would have done anything to have built that model. You can see these photos online that's of Hitchcock sitting on one of the clouds, like with the Empire State Building and all these, and like, they, while the camera was focused somewhere else, stagehands were going in and replacing the clouds so that the shapes of the clouds changed. Yeah. The sunsets.
Sunset, yeah.
I love that shit so much.
I think the first take they did, they had to redo it because he didn't like the sunset.
Yeah, it was too fast or something, I think.
Yeah, very interesting.
God, what a great movie, man.
It really is. Like, I'm surprised, everyone talks about Psycho and Vertigo and Rear Window, and those are all amazing in their own right, and North by Northwest, and I mean, The Birds, we can keep going. Like, it's Hitchcock, right?
Totally.
Strangers on a Train, 39 Steps, Notorious, all of it.
But there's something about Rope.
But yeah, I think it's partially the chamber piece, but that's honestly kind of what Rear Window is too. It's
it totally is. Movie. Oh yeah, we never. It is a chamber piece. I mean, there's a more palpable vista. There's more characters,
more to see out the window.
But again, that's also a cyclorama. That also is just a set, right? Did you see it? You saw it.
I did.
Son of a bitch.
I did.
God, you're so
It was
lucky.
really cool.
Fascinating movie. I love all the subtext to it. I love all the context of when it came out.
Yeah.
What Hitchcock was wanting to say. The fact that you could take a story that's so old. I mean, the crime happened before the 1930s.
It was in the 20s, yeah.
You know what I mean?
1920s.
So it's like even that idea of like what an elitist concept in the perfect crime would mean
That long ago.
was totally different. And then once you put it to World War II and this idea of, well, our race is better than your race, you're like, oh my God, you can play with that story in so many ways, right?
I honestly, I think somebody should remake this with modern day. You could do a lot.
You could do a lot with it.
I
It is
think
a story as old as time.
and honestly, like it's a fun whodunit. It's a fun murder mystery.
Totally.
I guess it's not a murder mystery to us, but it's still a whodunit to
It's a murder mystery to the people there. That's what I mean. That's the
It's
bomb.
like Clue.
It's the bomb under the chair,
Yeah.
right? It's something different that you could only. I mean, you could do it in plays. Obviously, this was a play first.
Yeah.
But cinematically, it was really Hitchcock that kind of like,
Masterful
birthed that
stuff,
idea.
and really
Yeah.
just like a amazing vehicle for a movie.
Yep.
Like just like I said, the setup at the beginning, you're just glued right
Oh,
away.
yeah.
So thank you very much for watching. We're going to continue our Chamber Piece Festival. We're going to do Moon next with Sam Rockwell.
That's
Very
right.
excited for that one, for our Chamber Piece Festival, and then we'll figure out a scene to do as well. But thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see, join us on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Those are our most popular platforms, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, you guys.
Thanks.